and that smile on all the time, children can read that, and it just lets them know you get annoyed too. And it isn't a socially acceptable behavior, not just for this project, but in life and in school. They're going to be more successful if they learn to stop interrupting people. So we're trying to help them be better learners. We're trying to help them be more socially acceptable so people want to be with them. Yes.
So what if they don't stop?
And there needs to be...
And then a redirection. There's
some
consequence.
There needs to be a consequence imposed. So this is listening time. It's not that much fun, but it's only going to be the first 5 minutes or 10 minutes. If everybody can bear with me and listen, we'll move on to the more fun parts of the project today. But it's really important I get the directions out there first. So the more you listen, the shorter it is, the more we get to the fun stuff. If I asked you, if you interrupt me, I'll ask you once to stop. Then you might use, there might be a consequence. The other thing is you might use a strategy called ignoring. I'll let Allison talk to you. We ignore in a very specific way.
That is on my page 6.
Back to the outline at the front, before all the tables and charts.
On
Page 5 says ignore this behavior.
So there's certain behaviors we can't ignore, and those are ones that are harmful, destructive, disrespectful, or dangerous. So if behaviors are physically endangering or hurting another child, another person, an animal, or a plant, then you can't ignore that behavior. Same thing if the behavior might destroy or does destroy property, you can't ignore that either. And another one is when the behavior would somehow embarrass another child or hurt another child's feeling or make another child not feel good about themselves, and you can't really ignore that either. Behaviors that you can ignore are ones that aren't harmful or destructive or disrespectful or dangerous. So whining, arguing, testing limits to the point where they repeat themselves over and over again. And I'll go into an example of that a little later. Any efforts to distract the teacher from following through on a limit, efforts to pull the teacher into a power struggle, or a child's effort to make the teacher angry or frustrated.
Which might be what the interrupting is about.
Yes.
I can pull your strings. I'm the puppet master. I can make you do something.
So there's certain rules for effective ignoring. So the very first is you specifically tell the child that you're actually going to ignore their behavior. So if a child keeps asking you and whether it's time to go back inside, is it time to go back inside, is it time to go back inside, and you've told them it's not time yet, you have 10 more minutes or 15 more minutes. So if they keep going and keep asking, you can turn to them and you can say, it isn't time to go back in, so I'm going to ignore you when you keep asking. Or, when you ask again. And so you specifically tell them, I am going to ignore you. And make sure you take enough time to use this ignoring strategy, because most likely if you start to ignore that child, he or she will try to continue to get your attention. So they might say your name over and over again. They might keep asking the same question over and over again. And decide to ignore the behavior completely is the third part of it. So you avoid, you don't mutter under your breath, you don't make eye contact, so avoid eye contact, and even maybe physically kind of remove your body or move your body so that you, even with your body language, are ignoring the child's behavior or the child's words or whatever attention-seeking behavior they're trying to do.
So if the rest of the group can hear the directions, then I might ignore them. I've already answered you. Now we're moving on. And then, like, if you were sitting on the edge and you were the one ignoring, I would look at the rest of the group. And sometimes another child would say, she's still doing it. I say, yes, I know, but I told her I was going to ignore, and I am. And then I just continue right on. Some children get the message just through the body language. And they'll eventually stop because it's not being effective.
So, and again, we go back to teaching and encouraging this more acceptable behavior. So if they actually do follow the limits or do follow the rules, you want to give attention to that child for doing that. So.
Yeah, so I would want, if that child is interrupting me, I chose to ignore, later, sometime before I leave that day, I'm going to catch them being good, and I'm going to give them encouragement for something else they did that was positive. right? So that has a negative impact on our relationship, and I say, we don't have time for that, I already told you it's not the time for talking, just listening. We're moving on, and we're not gonna have time to do everything. Gonna have to ignore you right now. Finish up later, whatever it is, gathering up the kitchen equipment, washing the dishes, whatever we're doing, something that child is gonna do positive that day. And I'm gonna use an encouraging, not a praise statement. Thank you for whatever it is you did. That was really helpful to me. It helped me pack up faster. It helped me whatever. So, say, if you have to do one of these guidance techniques that harms the relationship in some way, then you look for a really close period of time where you can do something that builds the relationship back up. So whining, I totally ignore whining. And if you do this consistently, the other children will start to say, she's ignoring you, she already told you. As they continue on, she said she wasn't listening to that, you might as well stop, because she does what she says. If you're consistent and firm, it's going to help a lot. Once you decide for yourself what's effective, and if you do it consistently, they're going to notice that, and they're going to buy into it. Especially if you have those rules posted or written down somewhere. And one of them I usually have with groups is we respect each other, we respect each other's properties, we respect each other's words and time to talk. So that's the whole listening during directions thing. It's the adults trying to talk. Or sometimes it's just even acknowledge. There's something else from the same school of thought as the iMessage. There's a technique called active listening. There's a whole page of it in the back. Mine looks like this. Active listening. And yours is on page
14.
And active listening is a way to say to people, I heard what you said and I'm trying to understand the feeling. And sometimes if a child's continually interrupting me, I'll use an active listening message to say, it's really boring sometimes to listen to directions. It's really hard to wait. I realize that, but we have to get finished. So it's some sort of acknowledgement. I've been sitting quietly all day in school, and I really want to talk. So I understand that. But now is the time. Give me 4 more minutes. We'll be finished, and then we'll talk while we're cooking. We'll talk while we're chopping vegetables. Well, then it'll be your time. But if you say that, then you really do have to go back and remember that. Like today, the whole group, I don't remember. I was trying to talk about something. Somehow, this was very ineffective on my part. I don't know why I said something about cereal. Something, and then everyone raised their hand to tell me they ate Lucky Charms or Cinnamon Toast Crunch. This is not what I wanted. So I said, okay, I can tell everyone wants to talk about cereal. Give me another minute. We're going to get over to the snack table. Then while we're at snack tables, then I will hear about your favorite breakfast cereal. Oh, okay. So then I can stop. I could give them the next direction. We moved on. But then when I got to snack, I said, now, Cleo, what did you want to tell me about? Now, David, tell me what you were trying to say about. Really, it's about using people's names, treating them as individuals, and following through on that. But, you know, all of a sudden they had a burning desire to tell me about the sugar marshmallows. And then we had the whole conversation about foods we eat a little bit of sometimes, or food we eat a lot of every day. And that's where we came to on the sugar cereal thing. It wasn't a fruit or vegetable. So, you know, you could have small amounts of sugar cereal, but it's not a morning, noon, and night food that you eat lots of. I mean, I know what I know about teaching and learning. I know we're going too quickly with too much information. We're kind of pressed for time. So that's why we put a sort of big handout together so we could refer back to it. Try to really quickly look. Was there anything before ignoring that you skipped out some grade back? Well, right after redirection, on my page 5 is offering choices. We've sort of woven this in and out. But he's finding the page number for us. It starts reasonable, then redirection, and offering choices. It's page 4 for you.
Oh, it's
Okay.
yeah, 4.
So, you know, when we have to set up these alternatives so that you did a choice with him, it may be the choice I would have picked, which was him for choose where to put it away or you put it away.
Yeah.
So you just want to be more specific, really specific. The more you can tell people what you want,